Hello. Nice to see you. Nice. I hope you're all having a beautiful evening. So let me tell you how this works. So if this is the first time that you've ever been on Livestream, then the way it works is that you ask me questions through Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. That's Lisa Cairns 12. And you can either write me a question or you can call in. If you want to call in, please put call me and make sure you've got a good internet connection with a headset and a microphone. And maybe if you're not used to Skype, you can do like the test Skype in the settings or something. But it's all right also if it goes wrong. That happens. So I'll tell you about the order of events of how I do these talks. So first of all, I do a silent sitting or a meditation, whatever you want to call it. And then after that, I do an introduction. And then after that, I do questions and answers. So you can write your questions while I'm doing the introduction. There's no problem with that. And I will read them or respond to them after I've done that. But sometimes I can't always make everybody's questions. So if I don't reply to you, then send it the week after. And I will answer it then. And the way that you find my live stream is that you can either go onto my website and look under live stream, or you can go to my YouTube channel. It's on my YouTube channel basically. And I do it 6 p.m. every Wednesday. No, 6 p.m. every Sunday. Sorry. Yes. Okay, so we do some silent sitting. So if you've not been on here before, normally I describe a little bit the meditations that I do. Know that when I'm giving description of something, and it seems like you have the choice whether you can do it, I would just ask you to be open or question the idea that is there ever somebody doing something? Is there ever anybody giving prescription and somebody receiving prescription? Or is it something that's happening? Sorry, I got confused between all my words then, prescription, description. So is there anyone that is actually being prescribed to? And if someone does do the meditation, is there anyone that actually has free will to do it or not? And then you begin to get into the idea or the notion, like, who is it that's going to get enlightened? So who is it that's meditating, hoping to become enlightened? Who are you? Which is a very interesting question. And surprisingly, a lot of people haven't asked themselves this question because they're more interested in trying not to be stressed. Oh my goodness, this card is so cute. I have to show you. I don't know if you can see that because of the light. Oh, what a beautiful card, eh? Oh, the little octopus. I just love the shapes of the whales, the water. Very nice. Yes. So who is it that's being prescribed to, and who is it that's doing the meditation? And what you might begin to realize is that there's never anybody doing meditation. There's never somebody that's doing meditation. Who would that somebody be? And who is that somebody that's going to get enlightened? Okay, so the meditation techniques that I recommend is the mindfulness of breathing, which is counting your breath to 10. And when you get to number 10, you come back to 0. So you just count all your in-breaths up to number 10, and then you start again and just repeat and repeat and repeat. No beating yourself up. You're not a winner if you do it every time. You're not a loser if you get to 900 and forgotten to go back to the beginning. It's not about that. Just presenting yourself and doing it is enough. So that's that one. The other one is moving your attention back to I am, or consciousness. So moving your attention to the present moment. So you could do it by chanting like I am, or just moving your attention back into the moment every time you notice it wandering off. That's number 2. And then number 3 is doing sweet FA, which is maybe really weird, rude saying. It's one of those sayings, you know how you have sayings that you don't investigate in your culture. So it could be that that's a really rude saying. Sweet FA, sweet Fanny Adams, I think it is. But Fanny in England can mean vagina. So it could be that it's a weird saying, but I think that it might be American. Like Fanny is a name in America. Funny, eh? That is all. Okay, so now we meditate. We did decide that we were going to do a bell in my computer, so you can just be ding and it goes, but we forgot to do it. So make yourself nice and comfortable. I'm sorry, Easy, I didn't mean to move and disturb you. You're such a good girl. Yes, you are. Angel. Hello, my lovely friends. I mean, I say that and I don't know who anybody is. It's just an expression. Like I don't know most of the people watching. Some of you I do, but even if I've never met you, you're the same as the ones that I have met that I'm defining as friends. Well, this is a disaster way to start a talk. Hello, friends. It's an English saying. You can say it to a group of people. Hello, welcome, friends. Welcome, friends, to the cult of non-duality. Please take your seat. Okay, so we begin. What is the name of my talk again? Let's have a look. Does enlightenment mean the end of pain and pleasure? Does non-duality, does enlightenment mean the end of any pain or pleasure? That is a good question. Who wrote that? So often when I'm working with people, something that surprises people often is that I can feel pleasure and pain. And that surprises me that they are surprised, if I'm honest with you. So I'm surprised they are surprised. Pardon me, because I can't imagine what they must imagine the experience is like inside body. So realizing non-duality to me doesn't mean the end of pleasure and pain. Maybe some people say that, but that's certainly not my experience. It might be that they're more enlightened, might be they're in denial, might be they have a sense of grandiosity, could be they're a liar, it could be all types of things. I don't know. If you've not had that experience, you can't know that experience. So for me, I experience, or Lisa, or in this body, there is the experience of pleasure and pain. So if somebody hits me across the face, it hurts. If somebody hits Khaleesi, it hurts, doesn't it? It hurts me. That hurts in my heart. And I can also have psychological pain as well. Like, so I was speaking with someone yesterday on the phone, and they were asking, like, how can I be upset about Brexit? I'm not really upset about Brexit because I don't really spend much time thinking about it, but it is a little bit what's the right word for it? Like, it's complex feelings, because I've had now like 5 or 6 times where I've been taken right to the brink of there being a no deal, and like the night before they decide that there is a deal or that they're going to suspend it. And what that means for me, if there's a no deal, is I wake up in the morning with having no rights. So many of you that are listening, as citizens in your country, not all of you have rights. You have rights to healthcare, you have rights to I don't know, education maybe, or you have rights to live there, you have rights to be in your home, all types of rights. But if they have a no deal, and because I live in mainland EU, my rights get taken away. And I'm really sure that the country that I'm living in is not going to be cruel in any way, so they're not going to chuck me out or anything. But I'm suddenly without any visa in my home. I have no rights in my home. And that is like, it's like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's stressful, as like stressful isn't quite the right word for it. I just can't explain that bundle of emotions that come. We're just coming up to another one. So today they said that they would know whether it was a deal or a no deal. And again, they've postponed it. It's like endless. But it's now like I couldn't give a flying F about it, to be honest, now, because I've been through it so many times before. I kind of like, who knows, maybe I never become without any rights. Maybe that never happens. They're going to have a deal. Who knows? And that can be painful. Now it's not painful. It's like 2 weeks away, and I don't have any pain about it or anything. But you just don't know. Like, I don't know if there's a no deal, will I have healthcare? And I just don't know anything because there's no rules to it. But so it's an interesting situation, and that is painful. Like, I can tell you that there's a few times when there's been a vote, and my heart's like, I've had adrenaline, like, listening and to the vote as to what's going to happen, whether there's going to be a deal or a no deal, or hard exit or not hard exit. To my true nature, my true nature doesn't care, and my true nature is always free. But the body is designed to have responses. If it doesn't have responses, then you're going to become a walking zombie. I mean, how are you going to navigate anything? How are you going to navigate being in this society if you have no pain or pleasure? So my pleasure would be for England not to leave the EU, but what's happening is they are leaving the EU, and that's painful. And then there's varying degrees of pain dependent on the extremity of that leaving. And it's also painful to hear English people telling me that they're doing it because of the immigrants. I find that personally painful. Maybe because I've been an immigrant for so many years, maybe that's part of it, or I just have compassion or empathy. I find that very painful. I find it a lot easier to accept if people talk about business and about that it will be better for business than I find people saying it's because of immigrants. And also because I find these borders that we have, like, this is my country and that is your country, and that we're tradable, that you can trade humans. Like, so the law was that in the EU you could trade humans, so I as an artist could go and work in France as an artist, but now that human is no longer tradable. Like, I find that tough, like, that we all have these countries that we belong to. We can see problems with it if we didn't have countries, because there's so many different cultures that would struggle to live together and it might create war. But I still find the general idea of it sad. And so when people blame immigration, I find that sad. Hurts. And I have wants and likes. And I can't imagine somebody functioning in this society without that. So to me, the idea of somebody waking up and the human having no pleasure and pain anymore, and no conditions, no genetic makeup and no karma, it's like, to me, the person would be dead. Like, they wouldn't be able to walk around this planet, because how would you know to eat or to be hungry or to go for a poo? Because all of these are done by indications of pleasure and pain. It's the same with when you see things. To me, waking up is the attachment to that. So there is this consciousness, which you could say is no thing and all things. So there is a consciousness that's experiencing itself, and then there is the person. And when you're asleep in the dream, the person and consciousness are like welded together, and it feels like you are that person, and that's your limitation. And through that, you feel seeking because of it. You feel a discomfort because it's not true. You're not limited. Your essence isn't limited. But that limitation creates a seeking in the body, and that seeking in the body makes the person, the human being, stay predominantly in time, predominantly in thinking and longing for something else than what's actually happening. And that, so waking up to me is the separation between the person and the consciousness. And from my experience, you can be less identified and more identified once that break has been made. When you're like totally unidentified, and this is just my experience, that this is maybe really different to what other people say and what the books say, but when you're totally unidentified, you can't really function. So that total disidentification can only really happen when you're not really using the body. Otherwise, you can't really function. You can't know space or distance or time. The body can be on some sort of like robotic programming, like a baby or something, but you need more identification for more complex functioning. And so for me, like the waking up happens, and this is maybe a bit of a change of what I've said over the years, or maybe not, because I've got a terrible memory. I always say to my partner, like, I've just realized this. And he's like, you've been saying that for like 10, oh no, they haven't known me 10 years, but like 5 years, 4 years. You've been saying that loads of times. I'm like, oh, that felt new. Often things feel new for me. That is something that maybe came from waking up. And so when you're totally unidentified, that can only be in when the body is really not doing much. And then there can be varying degrees of identification that goes and comes. But normally when waking up happens, I presume there is this cut down, like for maybe some people there isn't, maybe they go like that. But a lot of the time when you have these big awakenings or just a shift, there is like a cut, and you no longer are totally identified with that person anymore. You no longer like go totally into the dream. There is always the connection to self. But if you're doing more complex things, like arguing with your partner, you have to be more identified. It works better. The argument lasts longer if you're less identified. But that's sometimes complex because you're both trying to determine like what you want and what the other person's done or not done. Yes. So that's my experience of it, and that's what I'm teaching. So the two different things that I teach is the waking up part, which I've just been explaining to you, and then I also speak about settling down the person. I speak about settling down the person because if the person is really chaotic and the person is really suffering, it's very hard to speak about non-duality. So when you're in lots of like emotional and physical pain and mental pain, then you tend to be very contracted to the body. And then that becomes very hard to talk about non-duality. That doesn't mean that you've lost connection with Source though, because you could be in lots of emotional, physical, and mental pain even, and there can be the disconnection from that person and this freedom to what you are. So it's not like that is the way it is, but it tends to be, it's more complex. I also feel like it's a little bit, I feel a little bit of a duty to address the person to an extent, because non-duality is so extreme, and although it's true in, you can't put it in words, but what it's pointing to is true and beautiful, it can be really severely misinterpreted for the person. So I feel like speaking about the person and relaxing the person kind of like catches those people in the net that are misinterpreting non-duality and helps them become more balanced with what they're feeling. Because, you know, if you take some of these ideas on a personal level, that you are nobody, that there is nothing, that nobody exists, and you're taking that on personally, then that can be maybe a little bit dangerous for the person, or a little bit like create more problems for the person. Although I don't know that, because that's just my perspective on it. Because really, like if you're hearing non-duality from a teacher that's like energetically knows non-duality, not mentally knows non-duality, then that's really a gift. So I don't know for sure. And I say really why that's a gift, because you can like resonate with their energy when listening to non-duality. I'm sure many of you know that, and that can be really beautiful, and it really doesn't matter what they're saying. But it's just when they leave the room and then they're like, I am nobody, I can kill you because I'm nobody. then, you know, can become a bit problematic. Can't it, Khaleesi? Let's say hello to Khaleesi, because she's beautiful. And she is also a master of non-duality, aren't you, Isi? People can resonate with your energy. And she has issues. Don't you, Isi? Look. She likes to spend elongated time licking her anus. This is a little bit of a tick I've tried to talk her out of. I'm sorry, I'm just making fun of you, Isi. She doesn't really spend elongated times licking her anus. It's just because she was in that position I was going for the joke. Aren't I, Isi? Aren't you beautiful? Oops. Why is it flicking when I look at Khaleesi? Why is it flicking when I look at you? Is that your energy? Is your energy like that? She likes that. So what was I talking about? About the person. Yeah, so so you can find stuff on my reference page on my website as to things I recommend to help settle down the person. But even in recommending that, I'm not saying that there is somebody there that's doing that. Like, that will either happen or not, the person will become more settled. But I'm not saying there is a person there. Like, who is that? Who are you right now? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who is looking? Like, there is looking happening. There is hearing happening. There is experiencing happening, but it's not for anyone. There is a person that comes up with thoughts, and there's a body that has habits and conditions and reacts and has emotions and feelings and sensations. But that's not you. That's an experience happening in you. Like, something prior to that is experiencing it. So something knows that. It's peering in the film. Something is seeing that. That person isn't experiencing. We always think that person is alive and experiencing, but how can it be experiencing if it can be seen? If it can be seen, that means it's part of the experience. You can see how there's an energy identifying with part of the experience. And it's so crazy, the ideas that we think we are. Like, I am tall. Yes, that's maybe a description of the body, but that's not who you are. Like, to believe that's who you are, then you become in a box. I am good. That might be a description of the body, which is debatable, because we're like, what is good and bad if we get really existential about it? But even that idea, like, I am good, it's like you're putting a chain on yourself. Like, all the time you have to be presenting to people that you're good. I am good. Look how good I am. Hello, everybody, I'm good. Whereas this is just something that happens to the body. It's either good or bad. Some bodies have more tendency to being cooperative and to fitting in. That doesn't necessarily mean goodness, though, because we don't really know what that is. It's just something that we've defined as humans, and we all collectively agree on it. I'm sure that the bees and the ants and the insects do not think that we're good. When they're when we're buying fair trade and we think we're all good, I'm sure that the insects were wishing that we did a lot less trade and destroyed their home a lot less. So it's really debatable. So you might think that you're good for buying fair trade, but that's from whose perspective? From the perspective of not enslaving people to work. So it's in comparison to, if you don't buy fair trade, then it means that most of your stuff comes from slavery, modern day slavery, which I'm not criticizing, because all of us do that are in the West. I mean, just if you have a phone, I assume that it's made in Asia for unfair prices. Yeah, we all know this. So I'm sorry that I do that, but that happens. through me. And I feel compassion and empathy for people out there that are not being paid fairly for their work. That's really sad that that happens. And I'm sorry that I participate in it. Yes. Yes, okay, we got off track there. Lisa went into a sorry monologue. So that's part of my personality structure to do that. And you could psychoanalyze that and because of this, because of that, because the mother did this and the mother did that and the father didn't do this and the father did that. So that's part of the Lisa structure, but that's not who's speaking now. That's not who's experiencing now. That is an experience. And it's all about that detachment from the person, because when you believe you are that person, you'll never be free, because you'll always be looking for freedom in a thing, in what you are, in what you can become, in what you do. And in the end, like, what you do isn't your actions anyway, because you never chose to have your thoughts and feelings and ideas and conditions and the life and the interaction. So whatever you do is dependent on your karma, even though it comes with the idea that I did it. That's total illusion. Who did it? Who is acting now? Like, who is thinking now? Who does all of that? Who let the dogs out? Who? Look at this as well. This is super sweet as well. It is a cork. Cork. It is cork. Cork. Drinks. Coaster. Drink coaster. Isn't that sweet? Or maybe it's bamboo. Bamboo. More things to look at. What is this? I don't know. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. So that is that. Who is it? Who did that? Who got distracted? Your idea is me. I'm sitting here. I'm looking. I'm listening to Lisa because I chose to and I like her. That is simply the body has these responses. But these responses in the body are way deeper than you know. They need some form of conscious thinking to be able to do these complex actions. But that conscious thinking that says, I like Lisa, or I can do this, or I'm going to sit here, affects the body, but it's not actually an independent doer. It's a happening. It's not actually somebody. It has an effect. It's reprogramming the unconscious, but it's not a person. It's not a person. So by you going, okay, Lisa is on at 6 p.m. at French time, I'm going to listen to it, then there is a programming into the body from that thought. But that thought that comes up is also part of the body, but it's part of the conscious mind rather than the unconscious mind. So it's like this circular pattern that's happening between the conscious mind and unconscious mind. So the conscious mind puts in information, it goes into the unconscious, and then action comes out. And I think that they say like something like 90% of our thoughts are in our way and our actions is unconscious. That's crazy, but I don't know about these numbers. I forget these things. Sorry about the sound. I have a little box as a stall, and it keeps pinging open. There we go, I turned it round. Okay. So now we can go on to some questions. Let's have a look. So Lard has a question. So let me just plug in and then he can call. So if you have a question, you can either write it out, and I really don't mind you writing it when I'm speaking, or you can just send it, or you can send me a message saying call me, and then I'll call you when I get the chance. Oh, that's the wrong place to plug it. It's the old way of plugging it. So Laird, his name is Laird. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Hello, Laird.
Lisa,
Hey, nice to hear
I'm going
from
to
you
turn off
again.
YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Okay, thank you. I talked with, first of all, much protection and love and respect to you and your listeners.
Thank you.
And last week, I wanted to follow up on a caller after me, asking if you remember, what's the point if only a few people in the world like yourself and others have this awakening? What are the rest of us plebes in low life to do? And and my answer to that is and I wanted you to respond to it. Is that we're already enlightened. You know, that gentleman I'm sure knows everything I'm saying. It's all out there. But how do you recognize it and know it and be in it and let it expand within you? I think that's possible for all of us. And why do that is because we want to get beyond the psychological, beyond our ego. So that's one thing I wanted you to respond to. And the other thing is, you know, I have a hard time with who am I? And it's probably so easy that I probably overlook it. I ask myself, sometimes I think I get it. Yeah, I'm asking who am I? And I don't see who it is. I just see it thoughts. But you know, and so I practice asking myself, who are these thoughts talking to? And sometimes that makes me feel like I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to speak to that. And I love your dog, by the way. I have a cat.
Oh, nice.
And I'm alone, and we have a really good relationship.
Yeah.
So I respect that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love animals. I would love to have a cat, but Khaleesi would eat it, I think. I think that cats are amazing, though. They're so confident and sly and present as well. I love it. So I'll answer the second question first because it's the nearest one to my memory. Oh no, I've forgotten it. I'm so sorry. What's the second one again? Just remind me of the sentence.
How to continue developing the right way to asking that question, who am I?
Oh, who am I?
Yeah, and I'm not expecting enlightenment overnight. I just want to, I'm very disciplined. I'm ready to do this for the rest of my life. I just want to know that I'm going in the right direction with it.
Yeah. So I was never a fan of the who am I question either, to be honest with you. And I didn't really do it. So I couldn't really get into it, like, because it just didn't really do anything for me. What did do something for me, which was from Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramesh and Roger were my teacher, and it was more sitting in the I am.
Yeah.
And that kind of like but like just moving my attention back to I am or presence, really, like I could just feel this emptiness, and it was like almost like the questions became irrelevant. The who am I, just, it seemed a bit abstract or maybe a bit complex or too simplistic. I'm not sure which one it is. For me, so I didn't really do it. So I really understand that, and if you find that that's not like resonating so much with you, then you can move to what resonates with you more. Like to me, it was more than Nisargadatta, the putting the attention in the I am, and then like just a gentle exploration, like so just exploring, like who is experiencing this right now, or what is experiencing that. And you can just do that with a teacher, like so with somebody that's online speaking, like when they're speaking and they're pointing out these things, that can kind of happen and dissolve the mind as well. And also reading books. So if it doesn't resonate and you find that it just makes more confusion or just frustrates, then I would let it go and find something else that resonates with you more. It never was my thing, that as well. But for some people it works, and works in the sense that that like something really profound is seen there. Like, I mean, then you begin to question, like, who does it work for? But that's down the rabbit hole. Like, so we get into all of that. And then we move on to the next question, which was your first question, which is about how many people get enlightened. Like when the guy was speaking last week, I didn't agree with him that only very few people wake up. That was his perspective. I just didn't really argue with him about it.
Yes.
So to me, I feel like people are waking up all the time, and I feel like I see a lot of it. But I also feel like waking up is a collective thing. So I feel like we're like ants, just a lot bigger and maybe more intelligent. But it's like we work as a group, and so as more people in society begin to wake up, it will pass to people a lot quicker, and the whole of the society will begin to wake up. So it will
Like
be
a vaccine.
Yeah. So people like a vaccine. Yeah. So people like 50 years ago, I suspect it would have been a lot harder, and we'll notice it being quicker and quicker and quicker the more people that get into it. It's also like an idea, like memes. Have you ever heard of memes? Like an idea, how an idea spreads. Although non-duality isn't an idea, but it's the same type of thing. It's a feeling, it's a vibration. And it's like when some people start talking, or a meme is like when people start talking about the idea of God, it begins to spread like a gene almost into an idea that grows amongst society. But this is an energetic thing that will grow amongst society. So it is a collective thing, and it's not really that some people wake up with other people waking up, because we're all connected. So it's not really like that, and I just don't see it like that. There's people that are awake and people that aren't.
Yeah, I think it's a really, thank you. I'm not going to take more of your time. I really like what you said, that it's also collective, because
Totally.
I feel that here in America, it's real, we're just breaking all the molds here with this craziness here. And it's really forcing people to do soul searching on what's the difference between truth and non-truth and all that on that level,
Yeah.
And then also the other thing I wanted to comment is, I think it's a tremendous progress to at least recognize and appreciate the idea of enlightenment and what that is. And I'm prepared to spend the rest of my life. I've had moments.
Yeah.
I've had enlightened moments that give me a snapshot in my mind of where I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's worth spending your life trying to achieve. Yeah.
It's really beautiful, like that dedication to it. Like I can really feel that. There's nothing more sacred than that. It is really beautiful. And in the end, like everything that you do in this life, it's like you're giving to society, because it's actually humanity that's waking up. Like life is creating a civilization to become self-conscious of itself. So it's like you are part of the group. You're at the forefront of part of the group that's waking up. Like it's like the whole group, like the whole of society will wake up eventually. It's like I imagine it like ants. Like if you think of like your work is like the ant that goes out and explores the environment for food, like it's, and then brings it back for the hive, and then you have this long line of ants like passing the food down the chain. This is what waking up. We're like a collective animal. We're not like a singular animal. We work as a group. We're not really unconnected. We're always connected energetically. So what your neighbor feels, you feel. There's no separation really between us.
My neighbor, and also people like you and the rest of us that just help encourage us and reinforce that we're on the right path.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to you for these YouTube sessions. Thank you.
Oh, nice. It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. So nice to speak with you again.
Okay. You pronounced my name correctly. Thank you.
I did. Oh, good. I was going to ask. I think that's Scottish name, isn't it?
It is, and I have a joke when people say, when they've never heard of it. I don't have any Scottish blood, but I say it's used as a pronoun like Lord of the Manor, but I tell them I'm the only laird without any manners.
I think actually, I'm Scottish, so Cairns is a Scottish name. I think actually my grand's family last name was Laird, I think.
Yes.
I have to ask my mum about that.
Yes, Lisa, I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Nice.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thanks.
you. All right, take care. See you soon.
Okay. Hi, Carmela. Nice to hear from you. Hi, Paul. Nice to hear from you. Sorry, what does the sweet FA introduction mean? Not familiar with that saying. Oh, maybe it's English. So maybe it is rude. I'm sorry if I was rude by using that. It's an English slang, sweet Fanny Adams. We say sweet FA, which kind of means like, it means nothing. Sweet FA, I think. Let me just quickly look it up. I say these things. Sweet Sweet Fanny Adams. Adams. Oh, Sweet Fanny Adams Theatre. Oh, well, this is a theatre called that, then it's okay to say. Meaning. Oh, yeah, means nothing. Yeah, means nothing. Sweet FA. Funny. I like these types of things in different cultures, like the different sayings. Hi, Nick. Beautiful picture. Hi, Gerard. Hi, Thomas. Love your thoughts on Brexit. Yeah. Hi, Lisa. Maybe you could say a few words about how our ideas of what is pain or pleasure change when we wake in our many levels of awakening. Thanks, friend, your friend in Kentucky. Yeah, that's so nice to say. I'm going to start calling people friends. It's really nice. Friends. It's really a sweet feeling, isn't it? Friend. Hi, friend from Kentucky. Maybe you could say a few words about how our ideas of what is pain or pleasure changes when we awaken. I think it's not so much the ideas of what pain and pleasure is it's the energetic distancing from it. So to me, waking up is going from being inside the body, experiencing yourself as someone that's conscious inside the body, to consciousness which is everywhere. And this is like an energetic shift. And then the person moving inside that. And I think that's the big change. I actually find that maybe my life is more painful and pleasurable now on the human level because you're so much more sensitive to everything. My body is so much more sensitive to everything. But I can't guarantee that because I can't really remember before. So to me it's that, and then that creates a detachment from it. So it's not you. So say if like your pain is that your partner is really disrespectful to you or something about something, you want to address that psychologically. I'm not saying being really passive about it, but you address it. But that it's not you. That's not who you are. You're not somebody that's been disrespectful, disrespected. That's not who you are. That's a happening. So your body is being disrespected like the character has, but it's not you. And that's a big difference from it being you to it not being you. And it's the same with the person that did it. Like, they're not really guilty. You can confront them as if they're guilty, and that's maybe appropriate sometimes. And you can even lose your temper sometimes when people act really poopy towards you. But it's not them. Like, there's a deep knowing that it's not them and it's not you. Even if you are having an argument with your partner, because it's complex not to have an argument sometimes. It's like, if they have an idea of something and you have an idea of something, like, it's like arguing kind of has to happen to come to a middle ground. But maybe everyone defines arguing different, like a disagreement then. Maybe that's better to put it like that. So it's not you. So pain is a happening. So Dennis, if you're experiencing pain or pleasure now, it's a happening, but it's not happening to someone. Who does it happen to? So in a way you could say it's free. It's life's pain. Hi Malfred, dear Lisa, thank you for your presence. How can one accept the present moment as if there is something unacceptable happening in the moment? Because it's not a personal acceptance. So my person doesn't accept things in the moment. I think my partner and my friends and my family could say that I can be quite feisty and I don't want this, or I want this, or I don't want this. I don't know what they would say, but on the personal level, I don't accept things. It's seeing that there is something beyond that it accepts. Your true nature, who you truly are, accepts. Like, the person is something that's always moving. It accepts, it doesn't accept, it likes, it doesn't like. They come and go. But your true essence, that which is looking now, is always in acceptance. It never rejected anything. And this is such a relief, because it also means that the person doesn't have to be always accepting everything. Like, I don't accept Khaleesi doing poop in the house, or weeing in the house, or barking too much in the house. And we have to have confrontations about it sometimes, don't we, Khaleesi? She sometimes, actually, she never wees or poos in the house, so the barking maybe. Yeah. So the person doesn't have to accept. That's such a relief. What you can do, though, is work on the psychology of the person. Like, if the person's in a lot of reactivity and a lot of pain, you can work on the personal level of acceptance, because if that person is getting triggered a lot and having a lot of reactivity, then that can cause a lot of conflict in that person's life. So that can be worked on through the chakras to relax that. But you don't have to accept, because who is the one accepting? Your essence is accepting. Your essence right now accepts everything that's happening. The war, the turmoil, the job, the people at work, the dog. What else is there? The light. It accepts everything. Hi, Laura. So if you want to call in anybody, just say if you want to speak. If you could just put call me, then I can see it out of everybody's questions. I think I go through phases, and I maybe have a preference for calling in at the moment. I'll just read Laura's question. Feels like the apparent character always tries to grab onto something. Even in this talk, the me always tries to find a way or a method to get into enlightenment. It even tries not to be anymore, or accept that this is, or to surrender. But all that is in a story. Can you talk about this? Thanks. Hey, Laura. Sure. Yeah, so the me character, or the energy, the separation, is a doer. And it always wants to do. So when it listens to this, it wants to do something about it. It wants to categorize it. And then the seeking energy comes where, and this is on top of that doership of the person, the seeking energy comes where it says, if you do this, you will be free. If you buy a new house, you will be free. If you move to a new apartment, you'll be free. If you get a new dog, you'll be free. If you lose weight, you'll be free. If you get lots of money, you'll be free. I can't think of all these things. And this isn't true. That's the illusion. That time is going to bring you freedom. It's the timeless that brings you freedom, because that's unlimited, it's unbound. It's not this way or that way. It's in total acceptance. And the timeless can only be found here. The person lives in time, in this personal world where it's like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to free myself from that. So even in that, seeing the story of the person wanting to surrender, or wanting to do something, or wanting to get hold of this talk, just see that's happening. And that's being experienced. And who is it that experiences that? Thanks for your question, Laura. Hi, Isabel. Hi, Summerpan. Hi, Lisa. Can you talk about doubt? Do you ever doubt who you are? And have you experienced doubt since your major awakening? Did it disappear overnight, or has it been a process? Much love, Summerpan. No, I never doubt that. It's known. I don't doubt that. But the person doubts sometimes, so that isn't doubted. Like, it's just known, and I suppose it's not a personal thing, so it doesn't come into the realm of doubt or not doubting. Like, I don't think, I mean, maybe I could be questioned about everything, but I don't think I doubt that. I think I doubted in the beginning whether there was Lisa there or not, and I didn't really know what that meant when people said there is no person there. I felt like I did for a while, and then I think I began to question that after a while. So it felt like that was known, what that was meant. And I still feel like there's a part of me that knows what's meant by that. But then, as I got went through time, like I began to see there is a Lisa character here. So even though there isn't a Lisa, there is also a Lisa character here. And that I maybe doubted or contemplated. And it didn't come, like awakening for me didn't come with a download of information that was right or wrong. You know, when I had that major awakening, my first thought was like, none of the teachings make sense. And then life was very compassionate, because then it chucked me into teaching and was like, now make sense of it. And so the tendency was to go towards like less words and maybe Neo-Advaita and less practice, because that felt energetically very simple and right at that time. And the simplicity of it was really enjoyed, and the like not engaging in stories was really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed speaking like that. But as that began to get questioned in many ways in my life, then they began to see there was a character here, and that's okay. And there was a character where I was sometimes more or less identified with. And that's my kind of current experience. And that doesn't fit into some teachers where I really respect them. It doesn't fit into the way they teach. And that was liberating, coming to a place where I had to be like, yeah, I don't speak the same. It doesn't mean I don't respect them. And it doesn't mean that I don't have a sense of what they're talking about. Like in some ways I feel like it's true as well, even in my experience, but it's also not true. Like it's not the truth, like there's something else as well. So it all kind of fitted. So I doubted that, but I never doubted like what's looking or that consciousness. It was just really clear here. It was more the doubt, I suppose, about the teachings, the how to communicate this, the character, like old energies, like being, like having difficulties in personal relationships, like having ideas that I wouldn't have difficulties in relationship, and then there being difficulties in relationship, not just in romantic partners, but just with humans, and understanding my empathy, like I'm an empath, and I don't think that all people that wake up are empaths. They say it's like 20% of society are, and just understanding how that fits in with the waking up, like I think it makes it more extreme and more pronounced. So working out how that, and having, you know, doubt where that fits in. So that's the areas in which I doubted. Is that the answer to your question? Did it disappear? So the awakening, so for me it felt like the awakening, the energetic shift happened, like there was many little bits that happened prior to it, and then it was like a big bang. And then since then it feels like it's been a process of the person becoming more in line with that. So understanding it in a teaching way, in a life way, like seeing how I act that out with other humans, with being in this society, all these types of things. Nice. Thank you for your question, Samapan. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Paul. Hope you're okay. My dark night of the soul was feeling lonely. If consciousness was singular, I am eternally alone. I felt not so suicidal, but had a hatred for existence itself. My dark night of the soul was feeling lonely. If consciousness was singular, I am eternally alone. Yeah. think it even goes deeper than that. Because loneliness is death to the human on the human level. Because the way our complex thinking works is by able to establish that there is an other and there is myself, and then we can communicate in this society and in this world. And if we can't do that, we become like an animal or a vegetable. Like if we can't really do this, our functioning diminishes. So we're very attached to the ability to be able to think and energetically recognize things through words. Like this is the table, this is Lisa. And when you really begin to question what you know, it's like know in time and know as a community. It is like death. It's like absolute aloneness. It's like annihilation. It's the human's biggest fear in a way. Is that annihilation, is that all oneness. It's not being separate, because separation is what you know. Like if you just disappeared into not knowing anything now, it's meant to be blissful, but immensely scary for the person. The person survives through knowing things. I know who I am, and I know who you are. And then that disappearing is like, not knowing anything. Just responding. Like an animal without being able to reflect or think. I'm not suggesting that that's the final place of awakening. There needs to be some sort of conscious thinking in order to work in the society. But that's the death that happens. Complete not knowing. Nice, thank you for your question. If there's anyone that'd like to call in, please just call me, not like another line over it, because if you put like call me and then write another line, then what comes up on my Skype dashboard is the last line that you've written, if you understand. Hi, Anik, dear Lisa. Just sending you lots of love and a bit early, but Merry Christmas. Thanks, Anik. Wish you a Merry Christmas as well. You just go to the toilet while people put call me in there. Oh, nice. There's lots of people that put call me now. Thank you for the response.
Hey Lisa,
Hey, Brian.
I wasn't expecting it to be me.
Ah, yeah, you were the one at the top.
Okay, cool. Oh wait, my YouTube's on. Hang on. There we go.
Yeah, that's always a little confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually I've been on here quite a bit. That's why I kind of put like yeah, maybe pick someone else but
Oh, you did as well. You just got called. I didn't realize.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I kind of like made up a question because like I just like kind of felt like energetically like I had to call, but
Yeah,
um
that's okay.
yeah, what's been happening for me, I've been working with this really nice lady, um and she's creating an opportunity for me to like see a lot of like the traumas and like things that like happened to me,
Mm,
um but also some of the like more beautiful things that happen. And I'm noticing that I'm kind of like I get energetically lost.
mm,
Like I get drawn in by a lot of these energies, and also there's a lot of like, achings and yearnings and things that went like uh, that weren't faced or
mm,
um, like not fully played out or
mm.
um, yeah, any number of. So I I just get yeah, I just get lost in that stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm just wondering how I can like when going into some of these you know um energies, how to like just maintain your presence, because that's really the only way that you can open to them fully and allow them to dissolve, right?
yeah, totally. It's it's seeing that they're not you. So what happens, like, so say if you've got an energy of like darkness, like say if it's an energy between you and your mum that comes up of like feeling dismissed or not seen or something like this,
Mm.
then um, then what? Sorry, excuse Khaleesi. Then uh, then what happens is like you believe it's not even you, it's just a functioning that's happening in the body, is that becomes who you are. So it's like you become really immersed in that story and it becomes you, and there's no distance from that story. I don't mean distance as in like avoiding the story or like trying to negate it. I mean that you no longer have a sense of that presence, of that emptiness, which is looking out to everything. So it's like a disconnection from source. That's for a lot of people, they're disconnected the
Yeah.
whole time, like all the time. They're not really, actually, because I suspect what happens for a lot of people is they're going in and out of it, but they just don't notice. It's when they're disconnected and more connected and less connected.
Yeah.
And it's just that these trigger points, so these stories which produce more pain, and it's emotional pain which they produce, it triggers more identification and more seeking, or more trying to avoid that. And I don't really know if I have a how to. Like when I work with people, it's quite intuitive, but what I am doing is I'm trying to get them to not avoid their feelings. So this is what intuitively feels that needs to happen. So accept what you're feeling. So a lot of the time, in every moment, we don't want to accept what we're feeling because it's inconvenient to what we want to be doing. So it's like we might be feeling really tired, already exhausted, already upset about something, and we want to ignore that and be something else because we want to do something else. So it's first of all this acceptance and getting used to putting your attention all the time or most of the time in the body, like what am I feeling here, rather than what you're thinking. So it's putting the attention in the body. You realize what you're thinking, and you can use the thinking as a bell, so when you start getting repetitive thoughts about something, or hateful thoughts or angry thoughts about something, or obsessive thoughts about something, you can look at them, but then it's like guiding to the body. So what's the body actually feeling? Like, where do you feel tight? Like, what emotions? How big or small does that feel? And then getting used to be able to name them and to put them into words, and used to like the feeling of it. So sometimes a lot of the time actually our feelings have words. So if you've got a lot of pain in your heart, so your story might be that you hate your boss, and then when you go into the feeling of it deep down, you realize that in your heart you feel very vulnerable and abandoned. So it's like coming down to the base of the feeling and seeing that's not somebody. That's a habit that's appearing in the body. That's a functioning that's appearing in the body. But that's not you. Who you are is present, that which is watching it. And so it's kind of coming used to the feeling, seeing the presence that's there, even in the painful feeling, that there's presence, that there's consciousness, even if you don't feel blissful, even if you feel a lot of pain, like noticing that there's also consciousness. And then also you can play with it, like twisting it to the other side. So telling yourself story to relax the feeling, telling yourself the opposite story. So I am loved and I am accepted. And then speaking about all the times you have been loved and accepted. So it's like also neutralizing that feeling. So it's a feeling the feeling, embracing the feeling, and then getting used to neutralizing it, to calming it down. And then the whole time seeing the presence doesn't leave, no matter what. In the painful or pleasurable state, it doesn't leave. And neither of them are your happiness, because the pleasure feels great, but it passes. It's not what you're longing for, that state of feeling that you're loved and that you're accepted and you're part of a community. Like, that's nice, but it's not that feeling you're looking for. What you're looking for is the end of seeking. What you're looking for is the home in every moment. That feeling comfortable right here, that's beyond that. Beyond a feeling that comes and goes. And also noticing that feelings are changing always. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they're always morphing like clouds, coming and going, coming and going. And our tendency is to attach onto it and to think that it's going to last forever, and that you always think like that, and that is the truth. Like in the olden days, before I got into this subject, like that, I remember, you get angry at someone and you thought that was truth, that they had really done that, and that that's the way it is. They are an asshole and that's it. Whereas that's absolutely not true. There is nobody that's an asshole. There is events, there's things that people can do that aren't very nice, but there is no asshole. They're like conditions that are arising in every moment and changing.
Yeah, one of the stories that like was arising for me was like wanting to go, like it seems so strong sometimes, like wanting to go back and like change certain things that happened, like really seemingly believing that like things didn't play out like the right way or something like that, and that and I can see how that's like, I could see how it's delusional, but it's more like it's more emotional. It's more like and then I just get lost in that. Like it's just
yeah, and the opposite to that is like thinking about the future and how you want the future to be. There's nothing wrong with setting goals and setting targets, but it's like this constant fantasizing, when I get a house, or when I get the child, or married, or money, I will be free. And then this one is the opposite. If I didn't do that, I would be free. If I didn't do this, if I'd chosen this, I would be free.
yeah, it's like a wanting to go back to a more innocent time is what it feels like.
Like prior to all these experiences. Okay,
Yeah.
And then you'll be free if you go back to that more innocent time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, or the feeling will be better.
Yeah. And it doesn't exist. That time that you're imagining doesn't actually exist. and it's not your freedom. So the shame that comes up of what you are now, or the displeasure or the guilt, whatever it is, or the self-hatred, this isn't truth. It's a feeling that's floating through you, and that's not who you are, and that's not your happiness. So feeling the opposite to that, feeling pride or not feeling that feeling anymore, isn't your freedom. That's what we're always feeling like. That's what we're always telling ourselves, is that if I don't feel this. So your way of not feeling it is imagining going back to a time when you didn't have it, for example. But that's not your freedom. Your freedom is the timelessness in which it appears in. You're not guilty. You're not shameful. You've not done something wrong. You didn't make a wrong choice. Who would that be? Like, to really see this no-doership is really total forgiveness without forgiving. It's not somebody's forgiveness, because it also forgives your mum completely, your family completely, society completely, Donald Trump completely, because there's nobody there to blame. They're a happening, just like you're a happening. And that's really radical, because our society is so much based on blame and shame. Now, at the moment, like, we're going through this thing in society called cancel culture, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it's like it pains me to see the way in which we publicly shame people in papers. I think we've done it for years, but it just seems to be worse now. Like, publicly shaming people.
Yeah, it's really gotten out of control.
Yeah, like you know, if somebody just farts in the wrong place, like they're really shameful. Like, it's like, what was it that I read the other day? Like, this guy's like lost his job and stuff because he was on Zoom and he was like masturbating when he thought the camera was off. Like, he thought it was the break time, so he just decided to masturbate while it was the break time. And
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he wasn't like masturbating over the other. I mean, I'm not sure, but I presume he wasn't masturbating over the other people on the call. Like, I presume he was just like masturbating to pornography or something, and he thought the camera was off and no one could see him. And then it's like, that is so ridiculous that he now is like publicly humiliated. All his family is humiliated, and then losing his job. Like, what? It's masturbation. He wouldn't, like, it's what's so
His
wrong
life is
about
destroyed.
sex? Yeah, what is so wrong about sex and sexuality? Like, and who cares if in his break time he just decides to have an orgasm? It's like I can't see the offense in that. Maybe I'm not seeing it right. Like, maybe there is something really abusive in what he did there. But even if he was really abusive, well, he should pay the consequences. Like the consequences is in, like, if we take away these freedoms or something. But still, shaming him in society is so unhealthy. It's that very shame which leads people to be abusive. It's like the worst thing we could do to people. Like, so they think that, like, with pedophilia, like, one of the most successful ways of curing it is for people to be able to admit it, and for other people to not, like, this is just one way that's very healthy for them. And people not shaming them, like, seeing that they can't help having these images. They don't have to act it out. Like, so there's techniques on how to not act it out, but people accept them and don't shame them for it. Like, that's a sexuality that, like, they have those thoughts. Like, who would want those thoughts, and who would want those urges?
Right, it's like the guilt and shame that keeps, like, these
hidden.
traumas in place.
Yeah, totally. Like, no, and this is why I think, like, when you're really healing the personal self, you have to do it with non-duality, because there's many parts of everybody that feel unacceptable. Like, I'm sure all of us have done inappropriate sexual things. Like, maybe there's some that haven't, but maybe, like, inappropriate thoughts or images. It's maybe even more so for men. Like, I can't even imagine it, but that's totally not their fault. The more that it's hidden, the more that it becomes, like, sadistic and like, sadistic in the sense, like, harmful to other people, you know. The more that we hide these things, it comes
Like,
out in other
intrusive.
ways. Yeah. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with sexuality. And if you have, like, sadistic sexual urges, that's okay. Denying it is going to make it worse, but admitting it, and then there might be a safe environment in which that can be explored, or there might be therapies, When it's hidden though, that person is like, there's something wrong with you, you're a freak, and what a terrible identity to have. And I would say so many people have weird sexual urges, or maybe it's just me. Like, you know, you have these weird sexual thoughts come in at a younger age, or like weird interests,
Right.
or not weird interests, like whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess we don't know how to encounter whatever comes because like at a younger age, because like people around us aren't capable of like embracing it, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And there is nobody that is shameful. It doesn't mean that we don't work with people when they do stuff inappropriately and try to work and improve that. But it should be seen as like, we've had somebody in our society that's done something really terrible. It's the rest of us responsibility to help that person overcome that. I think they even do this in a tribe I was reading about. Like if somebody sins, then the rest of the community have to take that on board together. I can't remember the way it is.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're a product of our society. They're not an individual evil person. They're a product of our society. And they just had like this unfortunate karma. And the way that we get over this karma as a collective, as society, is by helping people, is by embracing people, and certainly not shaming people.
Yeah, it's kind of what it feels like with like some of the family trauma I've seen. Like I'll be very like brief about it, but like
yeah, just because I don't
like,
want you to traumatize yourself by putting it online. Like not the. It's like sometimes when we're online, you know, we feel this openness and then we explore stuff and then it's a bit traumatic.
Right.
But yeah, go for it.
Well, like okay.
But just keeping that in mind, but go for what you wanted to express.
Yeah, I guess like what I did feel was that like just this general trauma about like who I was, and I didn't do anything like horribly wrong. It's just like what was imbued by like my, you know, like I don't want to talk about family members or put anyone on the spotlight. So it seems to be like a sense of shame about my general like being like
Yeah. So it's so damaging, shame or guilt. They're the two. So Roger Castillo and Ramesh, I don't know if you've ever listened to them, but their thing is like, doership comes. I like this teaching, but it's not what comes out of me, and it's not my experience. But I really like it, like, and I found it really helpful, and I really can fit in with it and see how it fits in with me. But it's not my experience. Like I can still feel guilt or I can feel shame, but they would say that doership and suffering, and I get what they mean by this at the same time, because I also feel like a lot of this was really reduced, but I still feel qualities of it as well. They would say that guilt, so the qualities of doership are guilt, shame, pride. Oh no, guilt and blame, the partners, sorry, guilt and blame. So guilt is like internal to internal, and then blame is like external guilt. Because they're the same thing, blame and guilt. It's just that you project it on the outside rather than in the inside. So shame and pride. So pride being like, this is me, I did this, I'm really successful. And then shame, which is I'm really embarrassed, or whatever I'm embarrassed or I'm shameful for what I've done in the past. But I still, and then the other one is expectation. But I still feel like ghosts of these. Like I get embarrassed about things. You know, if Khaleesi does something wrong, I feel embarrassed. Like, or you know, if I'm in a personal Skype talk and then suddenly I by accidentally slip a big fart, and then I'm like, oh, sorry. That's happened in talks before. Or once I did a talk with my flies done the whole talk. Like so, like. These embarrassing moments that happen for all of us, but it's I do understand what they mean, like that this like our personality tends to be mostly made up of that, Like when you're really identified,
of,
like you
of
really,
these traumas.
yeah, you really believe that you are shameful. Whereas rather than it just being a shame or an embarrassment that arises, it's like you really believe that there is a you there that's shameful. Like the you there that could be different if this hadn't happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like it gets into your nervous system.
Yeah, and it like becomes physiological as well.
Yeah.
The physiological part's maybe not identification, because you can have like a trauma or a reaction that happens in your body that's not got identification in it. But they come very closely together, like this identification and the physiological. So if your mum like really shamed you for, say, eating ice cream, this is just an example, maybe you'll always have a funny physiological reaction to ice cream. But there can be this breaking where it's really seen that that's not you. Like what's experiencing now is not someone that's shameful. That is an experience. What's experiencing now is vast and free and is everything and everywhere. And it's not limited to that. But the doership part of it like makes it really feel like it's you and that you have to act differently for your life to be different, for you to be happy, and that's not true.
Yeah, what it seems like is like a lot of things have to happen.
Yeah, but that's all an idea is. Like, so right now, a lot of things don't have to happen. Like right now, consciousness is free, but then there's this identification with the body and this pain and then this longing to be free. But that's all happening in the dream, and then the consciousness is everywhere. The consciousness is timeless. There's not somebody there that's suffering. There's not someone there with guilt. There's not someone that needs to become enlightened. Like that's all identification with the person. That's all the doership that Roger talks about.
So it's just that the longing to be free is like misplaced.
Yeah, the freedom is here. It's like a lie that the person is imbued in. That there is a you that exists in time. Who is this person? Who is looking right now? Who is hearing right now? Who is feeling right now?
It's like I don't know. It's
There's this pure consciousness that's so free and unidentified. And then there's the thinking mind that appears in front of it, and then the feelings and the experience. But that consciousness right now, right here, is timeless, is free, is expanded, is not located. Is not a thing, not a colour. It doesn't reject, it doesn't accept, it's just here. You could say it's acceptance and absolute forgiveness, but not as an action. Just as its essence, it like embraces everything. It's like the ultimate God. It's like the ultimate parent figure, if you want, in a way. You know, we long for this perfect parent figure. It is that. It's there hugging you. So you think that you're alone, but every part of it is touching you and surrounding you. It's in like the place where no one would look.
yeah, there's it's like the person's always, and this might be a pattern also from like my mom, or that's always trying to like control. You know, so like energetically, if I feel like there's like a loss of control, it's like it's relaxing in one way, and then on another, it's like, but I guess everyone has that in some way. I think it's just tied to some things that happened. With me, it's like the contraction is also control, you know. Like, yeah. Like I want to ask, like, how do I how would I let go of that? But I kind of feel silly asking that.
Yeah, that's
You know?
okay. Yeah, there's nothing to be ashamed of for asking that, because
Right.
what's happening is actually an energetic exchange. So there's like it's more deeper than what we say or we don't say. So it's like a deep longing of you that's coming out. Like, so you want to be able to get rid of that and change that, and it's just being heard, and then the reply is appearing that it's a happening. And that's my reply. Well, that's the reply coming out. It's a happening. Like the person is concerned about it and worried about it and wants to get somewhere, but it doesn't need to worry. It's a happening. The only place you can go to is home. You think you can go to all these different places, but you only ever end up home everywhere. You're like home, 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 home. And that's what seems to be happening in humanity at this moment, is they're evolving past this separation. They're going to be an amazing race if they can evolve past that and realize that everything is connected and that there isn't really separation and differentiation. There just appears to be. It's one action acting out. That's also where it comes to the shame. It's like, so then if we looked at our society like that and then somebody was the murderer, we would see that as an effect of everything else that happens, an effect of all of us. And so all of us have to take responsibility for that. That's on all of us. It's so sad, you know. I noticed that there's a lot more violent stuff in England happening currently. And I think it's because, I really don't know, this is just an intuitive feeling, like they haven't studied it, but my intuitive feeling is because for the last 15 years we've been in something called austerity.
Aristocracy?
No, we've been in where the government is giving less social funds to people. We've been in...
Oh, I have no idea.
Yes, they use it a lot in English politics, and it basically means they cut down a lot of the social funding for things, because after 2008, the Conservative government, the right-wing government got in, and they decided the best way forward was to cut a lot of the social things and to cut taxes to help businesses thrive, you know, because of everything that happened in 2008 and the debts and trying to pay back the debts. And I noticed there's a lot of like violent things, and it reminds me a little bit of like the violent things that happen in America. I'm not saying that they don't happen in Europe too, but it's a lot smaller scale.
Right.
But like really gross things that people do to each other, and
just like rioting, or
pardon?
Just rioting, or people like clashing in the streets, or
Yeah, no, more like killing and murdering and like doing really like mentally gross things to each other.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it's because the more poorer that people are, the harder things are and the more traumatized they get. So when you're on the brink of being like really poor and everything being taken away from you, or you've just had years and years of poverty, people's mental health gets worse as well.
Yeah.
And so what the newspapers do and what people do about that is they blame the individual. And I feel like...
So they're shaming them.
Yeah, they blame the individual, but they're also, as a society, not taking responsibility for it. I do think that there are people that are born neurologically with more and less empathy, but that doesn't, with people with less empathy, it doesn't mean that they have to do really horrible things to each other. It tends to be because of traumas that they do horrible things. Like there can be sociopaths and psychopaths that get thrills out of doing horrible things, but most of the people aren't like that. And most people, even if you've got low empathy, want to fit in and want to get on and don't want to like torture other people. And I think it comes with trauma, you know, like the more you traumatize somebody, then the more they act out these really nasty things that have been done to them. And then they're blamed for it, and then society carries on like traumatizing its citizens. and then blaming the citizens. Whereas it's a really collective thing. If you imagined us like ants, and there suddenly started being like killer ants in the group or something, or like really psycho ants, like ants work collectively, and they're kind of like all taking responsibility for each other. Like, so the like if somebody goes out and gets food, then a line forms, and then everyone helps get the food back. And if you like did something really horrible to half the ant group or something, then maybe that ant group would start acting really terribly. Like, but it's not. It's then on the whole group to balance and neutralize that again. Like, or otherwise you just, yeah, there's other ways I suppose you could deal with it, but what I'm trying to get to is that there isn't individuation. It's our belief individuation. Like, somebody's bad actions is a result of everything that's come before. The same, equally, like Roger's teaching is pride, that good actions are because of everything that comes from before. So there's nobody that's proud. There's nobody that's better than or worse than. Like, so if somebody's really successful, we're all sitting there clapping, we're like that lucky person, but they're successful because of everything that came before. It's not really on them. Right. The same with waking up. When people wake up, it's because of everything that came before. It's not because they're special. Like that's not how life works. It's oneness. It's not division.
So we're going contrary to like what society is doing, is creating a situation where people are contrary to the natural order of things, which is selfishness is what's happening most nowadays, or that's the ideal for most people.
Yeah,
right?
And we're not actually. I mean, we have elements to us that are selfish, but we're actually, as humanities, I suppose, as humanity, we're collective animals that work as a group. So more that we're taught to have competition and to
exactly.
work against each other and to compete, the more unhappy we'll be, because actually what we want, all of us, is to be able to give our gifts. So whatever you're good at, you actually want to be able to give it. It's not so much the success or people clapping, that's very short-lived. It's actually that you want to be able to share your gifts. Like everybody.
Yeah.
And then we get obsessed in our society with the money, the reward at the end of it. So we're getting obsessed with the reward. And that's a fake thing. That makes us sick and that makes us ill, because it's not the reward we want. That has a part to it. Like, we want to be accepted by the group and we want to be part and feel safe. But predominantly what our urges in the moment is to give our gifts. But give whatever we're good at. Whatever comes naturally to us, and share it.
What is it that like blocks that off, or what is it that...
Because we're trained that that work is about receiving money. So we're trained into this mentality where, first of all, we're not trained in play. So I believe that at school we should be trained, or not trained, but we should be encouraged to follow play, to follow what we're naturally interested in, rather than being forced to do something that we don't want to do. It's important that we learn to do things that we don't want to do, but not this like 8 hours a day of sitting in a classroom being forced to do things that we're not interested in. We should be encouraged to follow this element of play and excitement, that feeling of wonder, of wanting to give. Like, so for mine, my whole life has always been around, ironically, storytelling. Like, so, when I was a kid, like one of my favorite games was I had a hamster and I had a tape recorder, and then I would like make all these different, out of cardboard, I'd make all these different worlds, and then I would tell the story of the hamster going around the world. So whatever way he picked to go, then I would narrate the story.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So these are, and like I used to always be doing this with my dolls, like telling all the stories, like creating scenes and then telling the story. So it's like I've got this natural urge to give stories and listen to stories, like listen very carefully to the way people are telling them and really enjoy it as well. So this, and I think everybody has that quality. And naturally, and look what, like teaching is storytelling. Like I'm teaching you through storytellings and through energy. So it's the same thing. And we all have these natural qualities that we're interested in. I was never allowed to do that at school. I was told off for that. But there's so many ways in which the teachers could have explored that with me, like putting that onto computer, like writing it out onto computer, like making little books for it to go into, like so many things I could have learned, like by storytelling. Like they could have helped me expand on that. They never, they didn't never expanded on what I enjoyed. And it's the same for everybody. Like some people naturally enjoy learning, and they're the ones that are successful at school, and that's their gift. They're the ones that are naturally like enjoy learning and picking up information and passing tests. But that's not everybody. Everybody has their unique gift. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that we are only focused on the reward. Generally, most people are only focused on the reward of the money that they get from their job. And that's a fake thing. That's like living in a fake story. We need to be in the moment and feeling from our heart and our body that we want to do something and give something, not be imagining a reward that we're going to get at the end of the day if we do this amount of work.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. For me, like it's the wrong way with training people, but it will begin to change. That there's more schools emerging that are based on play in societies.
Yeah, encouraging like this wonder and innocence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky enough that like from like the 4th grade until the 8th grade in the US system, I got to go to a school called like High Meadows, where it was basically like on a farm. So they did encourage like a lot of that wonder. Like there were things you had to do, obviously, but
yeah, that's important too, to learn that skill, to be able to do things and manage time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
for sure. So yeah, there was like a wanting to go back to like a time like that, where like that was encouraged, and there was a sense of like community around that.
and giving and sharing. We would all thrive in a society where we're giving and sharing a lot more than we are now. Like our society is an identified society. It's all about getting for yourself. And as we begin to evolve and wake up more, it will all be more about sharing and giving. Like, because if you think about the tree that produces fruit, like the way the tree survives is it produces a fruit in order for the birds to eat, to then poop out its seeds for it to survive. Like, it also takes from the ground, but its main focus, I presume, is like on the growth part, is on the giving. Like it's not focusing on like, if I give this, then I'm going to get lots of bird poo, which is going to like, it's in the moment, it's like growing, it's expanding. Yeah.
Yeah. The growth is in the giving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Very
That was lovely
cool.
speaking with you again, Brian.
Yeah, really cool speaking to you too, Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, I think that's enough tonight. Thank you all so much for being there, friends. And I really appreciate sharing with you. I really appreciate your questions. And if I haven't replied to you or answered to you today, then hopefully we can do that next week. But maybe by then you've forgotten it and you're not so interested. And thank you all for being so understanding about my dyslexia and getting words stuck. Like I feel tonight I get a little word stuck, and being really supportive, and nobody ever mocks me for that. People are always really kind and supportive and finding words and helping. On my Facebook, if I write stuff, they are very kind and understanding about that as well. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I find the majority of people that come to my talks and listen very supportive, and I really appreciate that. I mean, I get some difficult characters sometimes, but that's my karma as well to deal with that. And sometimes the comments on the video tend to be from people that are difficult, but not all the time. But like if you read them, sometimes they're not always so positive. But that's a very few percentage. Like most people I find very supportive and expansive, and like their deep love for this subject and sharing this subject, and it being totally impersonal. I appreciate that. Okay, Lots of love to you guys. Have a beautiful week, and I shall see you